It's the Trash Player League. Let's get it.
Hello, welcome to the Trash Player League coverage presented to you by FLCN. Week 1 is in the books, and we are now on to week 2. With that being said, let's get into the previous matchups and see how me and Shawn did on our predictions. Before we even start with that, man, was there any surprises from what we saw last week?
Yes. There was plenty of surprises in week 1, Mark. Not only surprise people, some surprise people showing out, but there was some surprise people, laying eggs. So it's definitely it was very fun-filled, packed week 1, man, when it comes to surprises.
Yeah, week 1 definitely it was eventful, I should say. And eye-opening. A lot of stuff was going on, and not all of it was good. At least not for all of the teams involved, I should say.
Yeah.
Let's just take a look back and see some of the things that happened in week 1. Okay. You can see the screen?
Yep.
All right. Starting out with week 1, we're just going to read. First matchup that we have here is I choose violence against FTW. Do you know what FTW stands for, by the way?
Look, man, there's 2 different things that it can stand for. Some people say for the win. Some people say fuck the world. And clearly BK is the latter of the 2. You know what I mean? Apparently that's what it says up in his logo. So,
all right. So yeah. So fuck the world, it is, I guess. But as you can see, Mark, myself, figured out a name to name his team. So you could get off my back, Shawn, about talking about how it's trash that I don't have a name.
I'm just saying it's very unlike you, Mark, to not have a name for your team by the start of week 1. That's all I'm saying. I just want you to live up to your own standards, Mark. That's it.
Hey, well, I figured it out. What do you think of the name anyway?
I actually like the name, Mark. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like it matches your personality. So, I mean, I feel like you should have chosen a little bit more violence in week 1, but we're going to get into that. It wasn't.
Hey, listen, man. I was in the coach's room and I tried my best to get through to my players. Some of the players heard me and some of the players did not. That's just how it went down.
Okay, let's get into it, man.
All right. Well, looking at it just off the top, so one thing that I choose violence does well is that the quarterback outperforms every other quarterback in the league. And not only did he outperform every other quarterback, this was the highest point total, period, for the league, placed by Kyler Murray, with a 40-point performance. Unfortunately for I Choose Violence, it was in a loss, though. And I don't know. I personally, I place a lot of this blame on paltry running back performances and the star player, the number 1 drafted player from this team, underperforming in a horrendous fashion. How about you, Shawn? Why do you feel as though things played out the way they did in this matchup?
Man, this was just a perfect storm of you getting some duds here and FTW getting getting some extra points that he probably shouldn't have had, man. You get to the point where you're looking at them side by side. You're like, what happened? And then you really look down here. You look at the running back situation, and like Tyler Higbee getting outscored by Kelsey is supposed to happen. That gap is supposed to be there. James Robinson should not be only getting 8.4 points with a rookie quarterback who is missing one of their wide receivers. You see what I'm saying? With a new head coach. It should be check down city, Mark. I don't understand why they did not go to him more in the passing game, knowing that he, that's one of his strong suits. He's one of the best. He's one of the better pass catching running backs in the league, and he's very shifty in space. I just don't understand what happened here. So yes, they should have went to him more, and it's even worse knowing that, what was it, 51 times? Mm-hmm. 51 times Trevor Lawrence threw the ball. So you would think that somehow that would equate to James Robinson getting somewhere around, 6-7 catches, but it doesn't. So I'm going to blame the head coach for that. I'm going to blame Urban Meyer for that, for his coaching performance. But yes, it looks like James Robinson is really the one that really put the nail in the coffin for you there. That's what it looks like to me. I mean, look at FTW. He even has Brandon Ayuk giving him 0.
Yeah,
and he still won this game, Mark. So,
and I think just to close this out, I think that's the biggest thing that happened here was that FTW, outside of Brandon Ayuk, had gotten consistent performance from every one of his players, whereas I Choose Violence did not. As you can see here, AJ Brown gave him essentially 15 points, and then Brandon Cooks giving him 18. And you and I have discussed before that Brandon Cooks, no matter what situation he's in, always quietly gives you consistency. He will quietly give you 13 to 20 points no matter what happens. Yeah. Like that's just how it is with him.
Yeah, Brandon Cooks doing Brandon Cooks things, but I think the highlight, the star of the show over there on his side is definitely DeAndre Swift. Who,
yes, it is.
There's no reason why he should have those points. You know me as a Niners fan, I was not happy with my team's performance. We definitely gave up a lot of, I wouldn't even call it garbage time. We gave it all up in the second half. So yes, because of the gap that they played with, he ended up with 8 receptions.
Yes.
8 receptions.
8 receptions for 65 yards and a receiving touchdown.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's almost like he was a wide receiver out there. So yes, he got an outstanding performance from Swift, and you got a shit performance from James Robinson, and that was the counterbalance there.
Yeah. So. And then if Antonio Gibson was able to sniff the end zone one time, then that would have helped as well. Just quickly, just to look at the bench. Nothing to see here on the bench, outside of the fact that Mark Ingram, one player that you hated on in the draft, 26 carries and a touchdown. And right now, at least, he's seeming like a great late ad.
Mark, I will look, man. I'll tell you when I'm wrong. Clearly, I'm wrong in this situation. There's a lot of ball running going on here, not a lot of ball sharing. I mean, the other 2 running backs did get some playing time, but what that says to me, Mark, is that the Texans are committed to running the ball with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback, because if Ingram's getting 26 carries and Phillip Lindsay still has enough to get touches, and then who else is there? David Johnson. He's still able to get. Everybody got touches, and he had 26 carries. So they're definitely doing a lot more stuff on the ground than I thought they would, Mark. And I believe that's what's contributing to those 26 carries. But he is clearly the lead back in that situation. And I already know where you're heading to, so we go get into this.
So, I don't know what you think I'm going to head into. Please enlighten me.
I mean, multiple name changes. I mean, there's only one team that I see the name change come from here multiple times. And it looks like Ricky, we're just going to call him Ricky because we don't know which team this is. It's roll the die this week. It was not even this week.
I don't talk to pawns.
I don't talk to pawns. It was something else when we drafted. And I don't know what he wants to do, but apparently he wants to do everything but win, Mark. Let's get into this. Here we go. Let's just hop right into this, Mark. Let's just hop right into this. All right, so let's look at this battle between Reese's Buttercups and Roll the Die, formerly known as I Don't Talk to Pawns, but also formerly known as you know what? I don't even know what his first name was. I don't care. Here we go. But let's take a look at it here. And Patrick Mahomes, leading scorer for Reese's Buttercups here, 38 points. Doing what Patrick Mahomes does apparently. It's an expected performance versus Cleveland is what I'll leave it at. But yes, that's definitely a big thing to have your quarterback give you close to 40 points. And then on the other hand, just starting off already horribly, you got Ricky with Ben Roethlisberger. Roll the die with Ben Roethlisberger, only giving him 13 points when he should have got 20 from him. Look, Mark, you know every year I'll go and pick him up as a backup. I do not like him as a starter. I haven't liked him as a starting quarterback in fantasy football for at least 5 years now. In games like this is exactly why. For every 3 touchdown, 400-yard game he'll give you 3 of these. So Ricky's roll the die is finding out the hard way here that you can't really start Ben Roethlisberger every week.
Well, I will say this. Ben Roethlisberger seemingly has come into this season in the best shape of his career. The only issue I would really place on this, and maybe Roll the Die would like to take another chance on Ben Roethlisberger, is the fact that he saw 0 preseason action, despite the fact that he wanted to see preseason action, given the fact that they have a new offense. And it clearly showed in the first half of this game.
Yes. Well, this is what I will say. They were holding people out in the preseason. As I said before, Tobias, my sources told me that TJ Watt was being held out of preseason intentionally, and that the entire story about him holding out and doing all these things is for media. And the team was already had like a little deal with him. Sure enough, day before the game start, TJ Watt gets signed. Everybody's happy. You even had the grandstanding with Ben Roethlisberger saying, "Pay that man, please." Ben Roethlisberger ain't never jumped out in the media and said nothing like that before. Look, anyways, but with that said, yeah, they had a lot of guys that weren't playing in the preseason. Ben Roethlisberger ain't even the only quarterback that didn't play in the preseason. It showed a lot in these games. A lot of these quarterbacks that didn't play in the preseason, or a lot of these teams that weren't playing their starters in the preseason, they had a rough week 1. Right, so looking here at Reese Cup's squad, really what launched her into her victory, even with the performances of certain players not getting their numbers, what really launched her into this victory was the fact that she got 20 points from Melvin Gordon. He was listed to get 11. I don't know about you, Mark. Me personally, I thought he was barely going to reach 11. He ends up getting 20 points. And then if you look down at Adam Thielen had a flashback week. You know what I'm saying? Flashback Friday, throwback Thursday. I don't know what he was doing, but he gave you a 30-point performance, 2 receiving touchdowns like he used to do, 92 yards receiving, and 9 catches. So if you're going to get a 30-point game from your flex, then typically that's going to lead to a W. So those were the 3 things that I saw from Reese's Buttercups team that really stood out to me that said, I'll be honest with you, maybe she's seen a little hint of luck. Maybe she's a genius, Mark. I don't know yet. It's just week 1, but right now it's looking like she's probably giving us a middle finger about our critiques about her draft right now as we speak.
Well, like I told that bag lady before, she's carrying too much stuff. Like, she got to relax because we did pick her to win this week. So what we talked about in the past doesn't even matter, does it? So,
well, you're right. We did pick her. I feel like she should be a little bit more, respectful, but
it is.
I guess it one last thing to say, Mark. This Buffalo, he has 4 people in his lineup
that will
going against Buffalo defense. I just don't know if that's a recipe for success.
No, it probably isn't a recipe for success, and that's exactly why we picked Sharice to win this matchup in the first.
Exactly.
So, but he does have a bona fide scorer in Amari Cooper.
Yeah, that's definitely I'll eat my words on that.
Yeah, 13 receptions. Like that's crazy. 13 receptions in week 1 and there was still plenty of ball to go around.
I hate to say this, but I will. I ain't seen those type of numbers right there since Brandon Marshall in Denver, or you would have to go back to T.O. with the 49ers to see those type of numbers, man. 13 catches? Come on, man. This I would like to say this can't continue, but
hey, hold up. No, what was the running back in Chicago that used to catch all the balls when Jay Cutler first got there?
Who you talking about? Matt Forte?
Matt Forte, correct. Yes.
Yeah.
These are Matt Forte numbers. Like,
he's just out there. We just go throw it to you whenever you out there. That's
exactly.
it. Just 13 catches for 139. It's not like he's dropping bombs out there. He's working for those yards, man. That's crazy. But yeah, Amari Cooper is definitely 38 points, 39 points from a wide receiver. If you could get that, you should win. You should win those games if you're getting 38 from wide receiver. But
just a little tidbit that's not really part of this, but just had me thinking that Matt Forte was before his time, at least for fantasy circles, because PPR wasn't a popular thing when Matt Forte was in his prime of playing football. But if PPR was a thing in his prime of playing football, he would have been the best player to have for at least 3 years running.
Yeah, him and Aaron Foster were in that special category. They would have been 1 and 2 during if they were doing PPR at those times,
Yeah.
All right. I mean, what else you want to look at here, Mark?
So very quickly, we're just going to look at the benches to see if there was anything that could have changed their fates. And just looking at it, absolutely not. It seems like Roll the Die played all the best players that he possibly could against this matchup. It just didn't work out for him. Moving right along, we're going to get into the next matchup, which was the most anticipated matchup of the week because there was a lot of trash talking back and forth between Lancelot and Big Trust. This is 2 teams that hate each other, that despise each other, and somehow Lancelot still came out on top. So, you being Lancelot, how do you feel about your victory?
Well, first off, Mark, I just have to make a comment. I heard you say there was a lot of trash talking leading up to this. You were right about that, because what I saw was a lot of trash talking. You know what I'm saying? That's what Tobias, you know what I'm saying? A whole lot of trash, just talking, Mark. That's all I saw. You know what? But let's get into this. Let's get into it. It's a sweet victory for me, Mark. Very sweet victory. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully I don't have to hear Tobias' mouth for the rest of the season. But we'll see. We'll see if he just goes quietly into the night because I'm gonna be on him. I'm gonna be on him about this shit. He ain't gonna live this shit down. So let's go. Let's get into it.
Well, you do have to play him again, so.
Yes, and I told him this was his best chance, so he better remember that for the next time he play.
All right, so in this matchup, I did pick you to win, and you performed well here. So Tobias, as you can see, I didn't just pick my boy to win. I just picked the team that I thought had the better matchup here. So looking at it very quickly here, the 11 receptions is not something that you would commonly see from Tyreek Hill. You got this when you needed it, which is
great. Right on time, Mark.
Very, very timely effort by Tyreek Hill, who made up for the points that you missed out on by Josh Allen, who underperformed going against Pittsburgh. And I wouldn't necessarily call it an underperformance. It's just Pittsburgh defense is Pittsburgh defense.
We knew that Pittsburgh defense was going to show up. Me and you both talked about it. I still have them pegged to be the number one defense in the league when it's all said and done in the season. So
yes, and the fact of the matter is that you and I both said that it all comes down if TJ Watt plays. If TJ Watt plays, Josh Allen's going to have a bad day. And that's exactly what happened. TJ Watt played, Josh Allen had a bad day.
TJ Watt showed he was worth the money.
Absolutely. So. But that was never in question.
You're right. He got it. Yeah, we'll get into it. But yeah.
I guess the last point that I would like to make here is that last week we talked about Big Trust, about him having Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. And we also talked about this in the draft. And I explained why I didn't like this. And this is exactly why. Because you have Chris Godwin, who scored 23 points for Big Trust, but then Mike Evans gives you 5. You're not going to have a lot of opportunities where they're both going to score well for you. Because I can almost guarantee that Mike Evans is going to give you a 20-something performance, and Chris Godwin is going to be nowhere to be found in the following week. And this is why you don't do that.
Well, we mentioned it. You know what? I'm going to wait till it's my turn to talk because I'm going to run down the things that we were right about that, people just ignored. But go ahead.
But this is, I will say this, though. If we're going to talk about where we were right, we always got to talk about where we're wrong.
Yes, we do.
So, with that being said, that's the end of what I got to say about his performance. Those are my 3 points.
Okay, so I'm going to go into a few things here. So I feel like, everybody knows what my running back situation was going after the draft, Mm-hmm. So it is what it is. I didn't expect Ronald Jones to let me down here, Mark. I didn't expect him to give me negative points, Mark. I could have just left it blank. You know what I mean? That's going to be what it is. Okay. Kittle, there wasn't really much of a need for him in this game, the way we were scoring with ease, but it's another thing that I worry about with the Niners, the ball gets spread around. But mainly Corey Davis showed up like I wanted him to, drafted him late in the draft. And this is why he was on my radar, Mark. He's going to get the targets. Apparently he didn't get a lot of them, but he got some red zone ones, and that's what mattered. They don't have anybody else to catch the ball right now. So if anybody's going to do any work, it's going to be Corey Davis. That helped me out here. And then, obviously, you pointed out Tyreek Hill. So I'm not going to reiterate that. But here's where I would say things went wrong for Big Trust. Big Trust, he said, those 2 wide receivers, you can't have them all eat. One eats, one of them doesn't. That happened. I said there's a possibility that Tom Brady and one of those receivers goes off, but I still will have a good chance because that other guy isn't. That's what happened. Mark, the football gods were smiling down on me during this game because let me tell you something. For Saquon Barkley to go for 3.7 and for Aaron Jones to go for 4.2 in the same week, and then he goes into the Monday night game only needing about 31 points, and he had Mark Andrews, and Mark Andrews gives him 5 in an overtime game. Mark, I don't even know. You know what? I think it's, God don't like ugly, Mark. That's what I think happened here. God don't like ugly. And he saw all the trash talking that Tobias was doing, and he said, you know what? I need to humble this young man. I need to humble him really quickly. So, but all jokes aside, Barkley was a roll of the dice. We knew this could possibly happen, him coming back from injury. But all in all, Aaron Jones, Mark Andrews, they both let him down, Mark, and that right there might be the reason why he lost.
Yeah. Legitimately, man, honestly, I think Saquon Barkley is a bit of an albatross. Like, it looks like it's good, but it's a bad omen, dog. Like, I don't think Saquon Barkley is going to work out at all this year. Like, he could have been there in the 5th round, and I would have kept going. And I
wasn't going to touch him, Mark. I was trying not to. I'm not going to lie. If he was there in the 8th or 9th round when I was still looking for a running back, I would have took him. But,
right.
But yeah, no, I was trying to avoid him at all costs.
Well, let's look at what things that I guess Big Trucks could have started to possibly change the outcome of this matchup.
I don't know if there's anything, Mark. So
going into the bench, right off the top, I see what he should have did. For one, T. Higgins. T. Higgins against Minnesota, absolutely should have started T. Higgins. Now, you should have picked one of those receivers, which one you was going to sit down. But absolutely, I'm starting T. Higgins. Higgins already had an established rapport with Joe Burrow, and it's going up against Minnesota, who their defense is just, it's just trash.
Who was in his flex? Who was his flex?
Devontae Smith.
Okay, so yeah, I mean T. Higgins would have been in my lineup, but see this causes a weekly dilemma. Which one of those Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receivers do you sit?
You don't know.
I'm trying to figure you. It's too late now. They're both on your team. What do you do?
All right,
you don't want to sit the wrong one.
Listen, you don't want to sit the wrong one, and that's a bit too much of a headache for me to want to have to figure out, especially with my second and third round pick. So, like, that's not something I want to figure out with those. Like,
decisions.
Or was it 3rd or 4th? It might have been 3rd.
Yeah, and meanwhile, I left points on the board there with Mike Williams.
Mike Williams, 8 receptions for 82 yards. We talked about how Mike Williams is he's slowly on the heels of Keenan Allen, and that they have a similar skill set when it comes to the route running. So
I told people that Justin Herbert does not like throwing to running backs or tight ends. But we're going to get into that because a certain somebody had Austin Eckler on their team. So we're going to get into that, Mark. But I'm done with this game if you are.
Yes, absolutely.
The trash has been taken out, sir.
Okay. Next matchup that we have here is Raw Dog Supreme against Charles Championship Team. And Charles Championship Team looked exactly that, like a champion. Came out on top with a point total of 161 points. Let's look back on it.
Yeah, let's take a look. So for this matchup, we have Charles' Championship Team versus Raw Dog Supreme. And this one was another one of those ugly games that I was speaking about, Mark. 161 to 120 in Charles' Championship Team's favor. That's a really tough loss to take.
I'm assuming that Raw Dog Supreme means that he enjoys getting Raw Dog, because that's
I don't know. It wasn't much raw dogging going on here. He should have used protection, Mark. He should have used
exactly.
Protection.
He should have gave that nigga a condom before he came in and fucked him.
Yeah, definitely should have used protection in this week. So speaking of which, man, let's get right into it. I'm looking at this, Mark. I specifically recall saying I do not trust Sam Darnold. I wasn't sure about him. Maybe it turns out to be good. I don't trust him. Okay. I also said the Jets defense would be better than it has been. I mentioned that before. Then you have the Robbie and everybody was looking at this Robbie Anderson, Sam Darnold connection, and I said, yeah, it's okay. I liked where he got picked, but the problem was, what was it, like round 4 or 5, whatever it was, Robbie Anderson was your wide receiver 1. That was going to be a problem, Mark, and it showed to be a problem today because 12.7 points might not seem horrible, but when you have Michael Pittman as your second receiver That's where it becomes a problem. Michael Pittman gives him 5 points, 5.9 points. I told you, well, you're familiar. The Colts were going to spread the ball around. That's what they do. They also have been running the ball a lot. It's Carson Wentz. That should be enough for you to just say no to Michael Pittman Jr. It's Carson Wentz's quarterbacking. But that's what you get when you have Michael Pittman. That floor is low. That might not be the lowest total that he gets all year, Mark. So Robbie Anderson's 12 points means absolutely nothing. So those two moves right there already put you behind the 8 ball. He's lucky that he got a performance out of Russell Wilson. Was not enough. And then you come down here and really 4 points from a kicker, 5 points from the defense. People think that kickers and defense don't matter, but when you're scrounging around for points, Mark, it does. Because here he clearly gets outscored. His kicker and defense only combined for 9 points versus Charles' championship team, whose defense and kicker combined for 19 points. So, like I said, every little bit counts, and you put yourself behind the 8 ball with taking those receivers late as you're 1 and 2. Your running backs better perform, and they perform great.
Yes.
What do you got, Mark? What do you got?
All right, so you're absolutely right. Looking at this matchup, the first thing that stood out to me was the receivers. And like you said, he took them so late, so this is what happened. But going back, also Kyle Pitts, we also discussed about how tight ends don't necessarily perform right out the gate. Now this, I will not place blame solely on Kyle Pitts because the Atlanta Falcons team as a whole were awful. Like, there is not a single player on that team that had more than 10 points.
I would have used the word atrocious, but awful is fine, I guess, if you're trying to be nice, you know?
Well, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I don't know what else to say there. But on the flip side of what happened with Raw Dog, Charles' championship team has performance after performance on the other side. He has a 32-point performance from Dak Prescott. He has Cooper Kupp with 23 and David Montgomery with 18 and Darren Waller with 10 receptions and 105 yards as well. Like, this team is just up and down performance. Only in 2 places does he not have a person over 15 points outside of kicker and defense.
Mark, what did we say? Darren Waller last year, 144 targets. Mm-hmm. It looks like if he keeps this up, he will be on pace to lead the league in targets, not just tight ends, Mark. This is ridiculous, but this is exactly what we expected. So, I mean, this is why you take a guy like Darren Waller early.
Right. Now looking at the bench, let's see if there's anything that would have helped Raw Dog change his fate.
I really don't think so, but let's see what we got down there.
All right, so looking at it, you have right off the top, you have Jalen Waddle. Even though he only had 4 receptions this week, he clearly is the go-to guy for in the receiving core for the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah. There was only 24 passes, 27 passes this game. So keep that in mind with these low totals. There's only 27 passes. 4, I feel like he's the guy. I feel like he made the most out of his catches.
Yes.
So he should be seeing more production out of Waddle as the season goes on.
Yes, he should. And that's the only position where he could have found any help. But on the other side of the ball there, you have Tyson Williams sitting down with 18 points, and he didn't even need them.
Could have been worse.
It could have been worse.
Could have been worse. Well, that's all he needed to know.
He didn't even need them. I guess if he had played them in the flex, that would have put his point total to 175 or somewhere around that measure. Now, Now, right now, it doesn't matter when it comes to straight up wins, but when you get around playoff time and maybe you may be fighting for playoff position and it comes down to point totals, that's when it'll matter. Like those areas where you could have played a different player and to increase your point total. So anyway, okay, next up, we have another rivalry team in Lobotos Prime versus King Foreigner. This is another two teams that do not like each other and have come to a blow of words, as one would say, in the past. So with that being said, I don't know what else to say besides let's just look at the score.
Take a look.
Right off top, we have Lobotos Prime, who scored a point total of 116 to King Foreigners 137.58. So going down here, DeAndre Hopkins did exactly what he was supposed to do with a 26-point performance, and Keenan Allen with a 19-point performance. Only a touchdown would have made this better. So right off top, King Foreigner got exactly what he was supposed to get from the players that from his wide receiving core. And I do believe that he was, according to Yahoo's rankings, that he was number 2 in the best receiving core in the league. So this plays right into that. I will say this, TJ Hawkinson, I only question TJ Hawkinson because of Jared Goff being his quarterback, and it seems like there is no reason to question that because TJ Hawkinson had 8 receptions for 97 yards and a touchdown in his Week 1 performance against San Francisco, no less. Now, San Francisco seemed to fall asleep at the wheel in the second half, but it is what it is. It's still a great defense that allowed this to happen from this tight end. So I only see upside from here, and all my questions and my concerns and doubt seemingly was shoved right back in my mouth and told me to shut the fuck up. So it is what it is.
So I'll start by saying, for the most part, Mark, this matchup went exactly the way I thought it would.
Lies.
No, I'm gonna point out there's only one spot where it didn't. So here we go. I'm gonna go down this. You have CeeDee Lamb put up numbers. He actually did better than I thought. Tyler Lockett, I told you, like, it's Tyler Lockett. He could give you the 25-point game, and he gave him a 26-point game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is serviceable. He gave him 10 points. That happened. Austin Eckler, I said I still had questions about him because Justin Herbert does not like to throw to running backs and tight ends, is from what I saw last year. I watched a lot of Chargers games. I'm very enamored with Justin Herbert. What happened? Austin Eckler went an entire game without getting a catch. I don't even think he was targeted, Mark. This was my concern with Austin Eckler coming into the season. This was one of my concerns. He had 43 rushing yards, Mark, but I think it was on either 15 or 17 carries. I mentioned it. I believe it's the offensive line that just isn't as good at blocking for the run as they are with the pass, and this is what it looks like. These were the 2 concerns I had about Austin Eckler, and this is what it looked like. So, but fast forward here, Mostert dying is something that I did not predict. I was wrong about that, Mark, clearly. So Raheem Mostert dying is really what threw off the balance of this. But even if Raheem Mostert would have gave him the 20 points, he still would have lost, Mark. And for my final point, I'm going to tell you why. If you look over here to the right, TJ Hawkinson, I know you mentioned it already, but TJ Hawkinson giving him 25 points instead of the 13. I thought TJ Hawkinson was going to be around 15, and completely wrong about that situation. He blew it out of the water, and this is what I will say about that whole situation. Jared Goff, he's still the quarterback that we thought he was. The 49ers apparently our defense, the middle of the field is open. It's open for business, Mark. Anything short, it's open for business. So what we saw was about 27 catches go to the tight end and the running backs. It's what we saw. So he's looking like a check down Charlie. And if you're going to have a guy that is a subpar quarterback playing in a bad offense, playing against great teams or teams that are just clearly better, then what you're going to find yourself is a lot of running back catches and a lot of tight end action. And it seems to be a lot more than I once thought. So I do not think this is a fluke. I do think Hockenson will put up similar numbers as far as the targets that he sees continuing throughout the season.
Right. All right. So let's look at it and see if there's anything that Lobotos Prime could have done to change his fate. And right off the top, see it right away. Deebo Samuel with 30.
That's it.
Right there. That would have changed the entire outcome of this game.
Started the wrong 49er.
Absolutely started the wrong 49er. And
I will say this, though. In his defense, nobody knew that Trey Sermon and Brandon Ayuk would be healthy scratches. Nobody knew that going into the game. I'm sure if he did, he might have started Deebo Samuel over Mostert. Maybe not. I don't know. But it definitely would have been more of a chance of it happening.
Definitely. Now, what we'll say is Chase Edmonds outperformed his predictions by, actually, no, he's right in line with his prediction. But starting him in a position where I only gave King Foreign a little bit of points.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected him to start him over Derrick Henry, though.
Exactly. So all in all, this game went exactly how one would expect, except for that Deebo Samuels thing. You might be kicking yourself in the butt for leaving 30.
Oh no, he's sick. He's sick. He not happy. He's sick about it.
Yeah, 31 points on the bench, especially when you only get 2 points from Raheem Mostert. Yeah. I think me personally, I probably would have started Deebo. But you also know how I feel about Raheem Mostert.
Yes, I believe you would have. But yeah, you're like he's a broken bone waiting to happen or something. He's a torn ACL waiting to happen.
Right. And and honestly, I felt as though if you felt strongly enough to start him, period, I would have started him over Clyde
Edwards-Helaire. Yep, you're right, Mark.
Enough to start Mostert. And
you're right. Actually, you might be making a good point. Maybe he should have just looked at it and started Samuel. Like that's
right.
Yeah.
So, anyway, moving on to the next matchup we have here. All right. So, lastly, and finally, with our last matchup of the week, we have We Not From 750, our returning and defending champion against Corey's championship team. And this is not only the last matchup of the week, but it's also the biggest blowout of the week. This game went completely a different way than we expected it to. So looking at it right off top, We Not From 750 didn't even break 100 points this week. He was 84 points. 84 points in a week one loss to Corey's championship team, who outperformed my expectations. Even though it says his original projection was right in line with what he should have had, I feel as though it was a little bit of an outbreak.
I thought they was gassing him, Mark. I'm not gonna lie. I thought they was gassing him.
But clearly they were not. All right. And this is on you, sir. Your 3 points.
Okay, we're going to talk about it. We're not from 750. We're going to talk about it. Because look, right off the bat, what does it look like? You got Aaron Rodgers peeking through the door with 0.82 points. Look, man, Mark, I want to be very clear about this. I avoided Aaron Rodgers because I didn't know which Aaron Rodgers was going to show up this year. I didn't know if it was going to be the disgruntled Aaron Rodgers or if it was going to be the middle finger toward Aaron Rodgers. And there's a lot of whispers going around saying that he threw this game, Mark. There's a lot of whispers going around saying he wasn't out there giving up 100% effort, Mark.
Right.
Who cares why? All I know is if Aaron Rodgers is good, if your quarterback is going to give you 0.8, you have zero chance of winning the game. You have zero chance. It's the highest scoring position, average-wise. 0.8 points is not going to do it. So let's just scoot past that abysmal performance by the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. We get down to it, and he did get a great performance out of Joe Mixon, which it impressed me because I told you how I felt. I thought they're just going to be out there gunslinging. They kind of were, but they definitely have committed to the run, and that's something good to see for Joe Burrow's health and for the betterment of the Bengals there. It led to a W, Mark. Not for we not from 750 though. So if you look here, and then for me to look at the totality of what he did, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, everybody kind of got close to the projections except for Zeke and Aaron Rodgers. And we're going to go back to that first pick, Mark, where he was absent. And Zeke has 5.9. I know Derrick Henry didn't do better, but
Derrick looks Henry like that did better. It just not.
It is better, but I mean, it wouldn't have helped him. But the point is, Zeke being there hurts because Aaron Rodgers gave you that point total. Dallas is very intent on throwing the ball 60 times a game. It doesn't seem to look like it's going to change. I do see Derrick Henry doing numbers. This is probably an outlier game for Derrick Henry. This is probably an outlier game for Zeke as well. But Zeke ain't out here getting the he's not going to get the amount of touches that you would want from a guy that was picked third overall, Mark.
Correct. Okay.
What you
All
got,
right.
man?
So looking at the matchups here, yeah, you're absolutely right about Ezekiel Elliott. Only 2 receptions. Like Ezekiel Elliott and Aaron Rodgers is where this loss is essentially laid at the feet of. Aaron Rodgers, I guess this week you could pretty much say that the Atlanta Falcons and the Green Bay Packers cost a lot of people games this week.
Ooh, a lot.
And that's just the way it is, man. If you had those players in a starting position, then you more than likely lost this week. And that's just how that ended up going. Now, Allen Robinson, 6 receptions, but 35 yards. Like, talk about super dink and dunk. Like, that's not what you want to see.
I hate Matt Nagy.
Like, that is not what you want to see at all. Now, on the flip side, let's talk about the winning team of this matchup. Jamar Chase seemingly has trolled us all throughout the preseason because his hands look like they work just fine. Now, mind you, I mean, I watched him catch an over the back pass and I was like, well, his hands seem to work. He didn't have no problem tracking that ball without the lines on it.
I've seen him go up and get a ball. I seen all kinds of things from Jamar Chase. That's a kind of a wild thing, man, because I definitely looked like a horrible draft pick for Corey's championship team, and it turned out to be a fairly decent, dare I say, great pick at this point, because getting 21 points in your flex that's like what you hope in the best case scenario. And judging from the chemistry that I saw between him and Joe Burrow, I don't see this as a fluke game, Mark. I do not see this as a fluke.
Yeah, well, it's it's his boy, and that's what they're going to do. Now,
Yeah.
I will say, Pittsburgh defense, well, like what King said, they were phenomenal. They had a block kick and a touchdown. Like, that's an amazing swing to have. And they ended up with 15 points on the day. Lamar Jackson underperformed this week. He had two fumbles in the game that were crushing for the team. Miles Sanders performed well this week. I do like what they're doing over there in Philadelphia. It's a much more balanced attack, and if they continue this way and continue to use Miles Sanders this way, to where they're allowing him to actually run and don't utilize him in the pass as much, or don't go to him in the pass as much, I think he could thrive there. I do not think he can thrive in the area where he's receiving, where he's getting passes 6-7 times in the game. I think that's where you'll see a lot of trouble with Miles Sanders going forward, is if that ever starts to happen. But, and I will not say I was wrong about Miles Sanders, because I always said that he can run. My issue is that they want him to be Brian Westbrook, and he's not fucking Brian.
He's not Brian Westbrook, but dare I say, 5 targets, 4 catches, Mark.
No.
5 targets, 4 catches. Let's see what the rest of the season looks like, though.
Yeah.
You're not believing that? You don't believe that's gonna be a trend?
No, it's not. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I look forward to it if it is, but I don't believe it.
Okay. All
right. So let's just look at it and see if there's anything that we not from 750 could have done to change his fate. And right off the top, absolutely there is. He left all the points on his bench.
Damn.
Like, what were you like, Doug? So I'm assuming that your son had you distracted and you couldn't set your lineup too. Was that the issue here? Because Rodney, Doug, like Robert Gronkowski, that's your team. Like, you have a Tampa Bay logo. Like, this is a Tampa Bay logo with Mark, your face right there.
If he had to pick one Tampa Bay piece to play, apparently it's Tampa Bay's defense against the Cowboys. I don't know what he was thinking, Mark. I don't know what his plan was, but I don't know.
So you really thought, like, I mean, come on, man.
No offense, not a bad start, Mark. I'm not going to. No offense, not a bad start, but I feel you. If Tampa Bay's your team.
No offense, not a bad start, but your team is Tampa Bay, and they're going against Dallas defense, who is Dallas defense.
Right, you're right, Mark. You're right. There's no reason why he shouldn't have started Gronk. You're right. You're right. That's your team. If it wasn't his team, maybe I'd feel differently. But
yeah, like, that's my issue. He left 30 points on the bench. That's your guy.
And Mark, and I want to be very clear, the 11 points that Baker Mayfield would have gave him would have been better than the 0 points that Aaron Rodgers gave him. But Mark,
no, but here's another thing. Honest to God, I don't know if I would have started Aaron Rodgers over. I don't know if I would have started Baker Mayfield over Aaron Rodgers, especially given the fact that I don't like Baker Mayfield. But one thing we know for sure is that New Orleans secondary is elite. Their secondary is elite. Like,
and they're known for being run stoppers.
Yeah. So if there's anything, like, we know that Kansas City without Tyrann Mathieu, it's not the same defense. And Tyrann Mathieu ended up not playing because he just came off of COVID. And Kansas City defense looked like that. That's what it looked like. Exactly that. So maybe Baker Mayfield would have been the better start in this game. But like I said, he only got 11 points, so it's not like he had a great day. But
it's not a world that exists that I would start Baker Mayfield over Aaron Rodgers, regardless of the matchup. Dog, I know he got to be cursing Aaron Rodgers' name He's probably still that shit happened on Sunday, Mark. He probably still cursing his name right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But so looking back, and here's another one. Like, so in your flex, you figured starting Leonard Fournette was a better idea than starting DJ Shark, who is the number one receiver for Jacksonville, and Trevor Lawrence likes to pass. You thought that was a great idea? And, like, I mean, help me understand, man. Like, what was going on? Like, Jesus, you had 17 points.
He loved the Bucks. He loved the Bucks.
Yeah. I mean, granted, DJ Shark only had 3 receptions, but he made the most of his 3 receptions, and he got a touchdown. That's a lot more than we could say for Leonard Fournette. But, you know, somebody that did get touchdowns, Rob Gronkowski, is sitting on the bench. So. All right, so that's it for the matchups of this week. But let's just go into the current week's matchups very quickly and see what we got here. So this week's matchup very quickly, we have I Choose Violence versus Ricky. I do expect a bounce back for some teams, but doesn't seem like it's going to happen this week for Calvin Ridley, because he goes up against Tampa Bay. Atlanta goes up against Tampa Bay this week. It doesn't look like it's going to let up for Atlanta for a little bit yet. But Najee Harris seems like he's going to have a better week, and then against the Las Vegas Raiders, excuse me. And then you have Damian Harris going up against the Jets. You have anything to say?
I'm curious to see what kind of numbers Amari Cooper puts up this week. I expect I see he's got Mac Jones starting this week. So instead of Ben Roethlisberger, smart move. I told you how I feel about the Jets defense. This is the New England Patriots, though. So I do expect Mac Jones to be right around what he's predicted to get, which is the 18 points. This particular matchup, I just believe that I like, once again, I like the upside that I Choose Violence has over the upside that Roll the Die has. So therefore, my prediction is that I Choose Violence is going to come up with the victory this week, and it's probably going to be a whole lot of Kyler Murray, and I believe it to be a whole lot of Antonio Gibson versus that Giants defense.
Yeah. I would agree with you there. I will say this. James Robinson, his performance last week is concerning. Was considering benching James Robinson, but then when I looked at who Myles Gaskin is going against, the Buffalo defense, I changed my mind. And then Mark Ingram is going up against Cleveland.
Yeah. So, and it's the thing, Carl, but you do have the other guy that out-touched him in the game, Carlos Hyde. You know, apparently Urban Meyer is playing favorites. He's got his Ohio State running back there out-touching James Robinson for no apparent reason. So,
and you know what's crazy? And like, here's real rap. What's crazy to me is that I'm an Ohio State fan, but I fucking hate Carlos Hyde. I fucking hate him. You want to know why? Because
Mark?
he is a touch vulture. Like, he is a middle of the road running back. He's not dynamic in any sort of way, but he is a middle of the road running back that everybody seems to love, and they will play him over the more dynamic guy. Like, every single time.
He just ends up on these teams where you have a guy that's young, that's great, and you're like, I like this guy. And then all of a sudden, Carlos Hyde gets signed to the roster, and you already know what time it is, Mark. You think to yourself, there's no reason why he should be stealing touches. And then he's just like, it's a 50-50 timeshare. How did this happen? How did this happen? I don't know. So
every single fucking time. I hate Carlos Hyde, dog.
Yeah, you said vulture. He's more like a vampire. He's a touch vampire. He just bleeds you dry, you know?
God damn it.
But I made my prediction, Mark. I said I believe you're gonna get this dub here.
So
you're gonna have some explosive performances.
So we both pick I choose violence for the win. These are two teams that have an 0-1 record, so one of them will be getting into the win column this week.
Somebody will be winless, Mark.
And somebody will remain winless. That is correct. All right, moving on. Lancelot versus Raw Dog Supreme. Right here. Josh Allen against Miami. I like it. Tyreek Hill against Baltimore without
Marlon Humphrey.
Yeah. No,
my Marlon Humphrey. My bad.
Marcus Peters.
Marcus Peters. I don't know why I said Marlon Humphrey.
Without Peters, that has chance for a lot of success. I would imagine, though, Marlon Humphrey should be shadowing.
He's going to be shadowing him, Mark. There's no other way to play that. They can't take a chance of not shadowing him.
But it's still Tyreek Hill.
It is.
It's just, it may slow down a bit. And then you have Stefan. Let's just face it. Lancelot has tasty matchups this week. Lancelot has some tasty matchups this week, while Raw Dog Supreme, on the other hand, doesn't necessarily have the same. But according to Yahoo, they have Raw Dog Supreme as the 55% favorite. Shawn, you have any thoughts?
As of right now, I'm looking at it. And to be honest with you, this may or may not be my lineup when I start. But I'll say this: I think they're shorting me on Jamal Williams versus Green Bay. He's playing his former team. I do expect there to be a little bit of an extra focus on trying to let him get his. It's just customary in the NFL and in professional sports that wherever you can control that, people try to force the issue. So, and it did seem to me that Jamal Williams was getting a lot more of the he outtouched Swift in week 1. It might not continue. Swift is supposed to be easing into the offense, but it did look like Jamal Williams was who they were going to in the passing game more than Swift. So I personally think that he will get a better performance than that. But yes, Mark, this matchup looks like it comes down to the actual NFL lineup matchups. And my team, I don't have any real defenses that we're going against, except for maybe Philly here, which I don't even know if they're real or not. They played the Falcons, but it's George Kittle. So I'm not going to be too concerned about that. So, and then, like I said, but over there, Raw Dog Supreme, the one matchup that I do like that he has is Nick Chubb versus Houston. That's going to be a nice one. Who knows what Kyle Pitts will do against Tampa Bay, but we don't know because the entire offense is broken. So Chris Carson versus Tennessee, I expect him to have something of what he had recently in week 1, which is close to about 15 points. That's what I'm looking at. It just doesn't look like there's going to be very much chance for an explosion of offense on that side of this matchup with Raw Dog Supreme.
No, it absolutely does not look to be that way at all. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Lancelot for this matchup as my team to win, even while looking at the bench here. Still my team to win. How about you, Shawn?
Yes, I mean, even if you look at, that's who I'm picking. I'm picking myself here. Looking at the bench, the one place I need help is running back, but there is no real running backs on the bench. Waiver wire was unkind. Therefore, I have Mike Davis on the bench. You might look at the projections and say, hey, man, why don't you start him over one of these guys? And then I'm just looking at it, and it's like, these are just horrible choice after horrible choice. Do I want to start Ronald Jones again? Or do I want to start Mike Davis against the defense that everybody is apparently terrified of?
Well,
with the Atlanta Falcons playing them.
And this is what happens when you have to make an unbalanced choice because of the way that you choose to draft.
Yep. So I'm hoping for a whole lot of boom, Mark, and I feel like this is the week where it just lines up perfectly to where I might just get what I'm looking for.
Okay, so next we have Lobotos Prime versus Corey's championship team. Taking a glance here, they have Corey's championship team heavily favored with a 60% chance of victory. I think this is the highest that we've seen Yahoo rank a victory so far this season. And looking at the lineup here, I don't know if I necessarily disagree. Well, you do have Justin Herbert going up against Dallas. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
That is a big deal. Oh, it also helps that he has yet to Lobotos Prime has yet to set his flex position. Let's take a gander and see who he possibly would start here in that spot. Hey man, after seeing what Deebo Samuel did and seeing that he's finally healthy, I think I'm just starting Deebo Samuel in that flex position.
Well, I'll say this: he just has some good choices. He last week it was Mostert. This week he has Deebo Samuel and Elijah Mitchell to choose from. Who Mitchell is now going to be? Well, it's to be seen whether or not Trey Sermon will be playing and starting. But even so, with the Niners, the second running back will eat. It will eat if the game flow goes that way. So, but yeah, I'm with you on this one. I'm immediately starting Deebo Samuel if that's the last spot, which with the projections for that would project them to actually win the game.
Yes, yes, it would. And now saying that he doesn't have a person in his flex, I'm going to go ahead and go with Lobotos Prime to win this matchup. How about yourself?
I believe this is going to be a close game.
I believe so as well. But
I believe it's going to be as close as the predictions say it will. I'm not going to bet against Christian McCaffrey getting his numbers. He's going to get those. Justin Jefferson could have a better performance. He is, but if they have to give him 40 touches to get his numbers marked, then they'll do that. If they get to the goal line, he'll get those touches. So where Christian McCaffrey makes up for it, as opposed to other running and catching running backs, is he does get all of the goal line carries, but they get in the red zone, and that's what makes him different. And that's why he is still able to have a 3.5 yards per carry game and still put up 20 points. So yes, we'll see about it. But I'm still not gonna bet against Christian McCaffrey getting his points. Where I'm concerned at though is Julio Jones. So me, Mark, I'm just not believing that he's going to do any numbers in this offense because of the way that they play. It's possible he did look healthier than I expected him to, but they're such a run-first team. And I do believe they believe in A.J. Brown. So he does have Jamar Chase against Chicago. So I don't know, man. I honestly, I think this matchup comes down to what I think Lamar Jackson is going to do versus what Herbert's going to do. And I think Herbert's going to put up more points than he's projected because he's going against Dallas defense, and I expect it to be a shootout. Lamar Jackson, I do believe he will get his projected points this week, though.
All right, I have a bold prediction right now. Bold prediction. I think this may be the week we find out. I mean, it's very early, but we may find out that Icarus has flown too close to the sun, and this is the week where Corey's championship team comes down to earth a little bit in week 2. I'm looking at some of these.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at some of these matchup series. You have Miles Sanders going up against San Francisco. That front line of San Francisco is not Atlanta's front line. It's going to be a little bit different. And magically, San Francisco's front line came out the game unscathed. They still have their front line together. So that's going to be a little bit different for Miles Sanders. And then you have Jamar Chase going up against Chicago. I think Chicago defense got embarrassed a little bit. And I think they're going to be their defense has always been good. And I think their defense is going to show up a little bit better now. And I think Khalil and them are not going to allow Cincinnati to do as much as they did against Minnesota. Because even though Minnesota lost that game, Minnesota did manage to get 5 sacks on Joe Burrow. And now you're going up against Chicago's defense. It's going to be a lot different. Like, so, you know what I mean?
True.
Cincinnati does not have an O-line, and it showed last week. So now you're going up against Chicago. It's going to be a little bit different. And also, from there, like I said, Christian McCaffrey going up against New Orleans. I don't necessarily fear for Christian McCaffrey. It's just more so about Sam Darnold. I think they're going to cut Christian McCaffrey off at the knees by destroying Sam Darnold. And we'll
see, because it sounds like a bunch of dump off magic to me. But
I mean,
it
should be. But we also know that Sam, like when there's disguise protections and a lot of movement, Sam Darnold has trouble seeing it, and he starts to see ghosts, and he has trouble making decisions.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he gets rattled too easy. That's what I don't like about him. All right, but yeah, I do got Coach winning. I do have Spartacus Prime with the win on this one. Okay, so we have Big Trust versus FTW, and right here they got prediction. They got FTW projected to win, 53% chance of winning here, 145 to 140. These predictions, you can never trust them. That's what I'll say. But looking at these matchups right now, I must say, Mark, and I really don't want to say this. I really don't want to say this. We both don't like this, but if ever there was a game, Mark, Tom Brady, Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans versus Atlanta.
No, this is the week.
This is it. This is the one, Mark. This is the one. Aaron Jones versus Detroit defense. This is it, man. This is exactly what you're looking for.
By the way, don't lump me in with your Tobias hate. No, don't say we both don't like this. I don't have a problem with
Tobias. I'm talking about the Tampa Bay lineup. The Tampa Bay lineup.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Look. Anyways, but yeah, so he's got his first 4 guys. I believe they're gonna not all outperform, because like I said, I don't know if both guys will eat, but if both receivers eat, Mark, this will be the week. But Aaron Jones, they're being kind by saying 19 points. They were not able to stop 49ers from running. They did not look like they were capable of stopping the run. And that was a theme common to last year. Then you have Saquon. I'm not really expecting anything from Saquon too much. He didn't see too many touches, but his touch uptick, you should see an uptick in his touches. Mark Andrews, who knows if he shows up this game. But this is a trend with Mark Andrews over the past couple seasons. If he didn't show up last week, I can almost guarantee you that he'll show up this week. Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, those are the matchups that I like over there. There's some good matchups with FTW, but they're not good enough, Mark. Alvin Kamara versus Carolina is something that I think is just he's gonna eat. Stafford versus Indy, the way that they looked on Sunday, it's a good chance that he'll do pretty decent numbers, but Indy's defense is a little underrated. But I'm looking at this matchup. I don't know if there's enough on that side of things over here. I don't think DeAndre Swift has the same type of game that he had before. Maybe he does, but I can't expect them to have a 40-point game again. So no, I'm gonna lean this one towards Big Trust. I just feel like that Atlanta matchup is going to work for him, but more so, I feel like Aaron Jones and Mark Andrews will have a completely different week than they had in week 1, and I feel like that's going to be the deciding factor there.
Who are you picking to win this matchup?
I'm still picking Tobias to win this matchup. Big Trust. If anything, man, I think it's going to be a possible fireworks show there in Atlanta. So, like I said, I really do think Aaron Jones is about to put up 25 points against Detroit.
I think that would be the area in which he wins is because of this Atlanta stuff.
Oh, if that turns out to be like last week, where one of the guys gets him 5, he can't win this week, Mark.
Yeah,
I just feel that confident that Atlanta is trash.
Yeah, I don't, because I'm looking at it and I don't know if I want to pick him when you have Matthew Stafford going up against Indiana, who pretty much gave it up to Seattle. Like, they just let Seattle do whatever the fuck they wanted last week. And then you have AJ Brown, who's going against Seattle, and Seattle's defense isn't very good. And then you have Alvin Kamara. DeAndre Smith, going up against Green Bay. That has potential to be taken.
It has potential. I guess for
Travis
me,
Kelce is always good. Like,
yeah, the Swift and the Jones situation is what I didn't have confidence in, Mark. Those are the two that I think are going to do less than their numbers that are less than what they're projected. Marvin Jones is going against Denver defense.
I will say this:
that is not Jared Goff. That's Trevor Lawrence right now against that Denver defense. You're talking about a young quarterback who seemingly has a head coach who doesn't know what the hell he wants to do with the offense, and you're going against Denver defense with a healthy Von Miller.
Well, but what we do know is that he, at the end of the day, he wants to pass. Like,
that is true, but I mean, I don't know. I do not like that matchup versus Denver. I do not like it at all.
So, listen, at the end of the day, we know he wants to pass. So,
well, what you got? Who you picking?
All right, man. Big Trust has to change his defense. It has to. Like, that just has to.
He has to change. Hey, look, I expect him to have a different defense by the time the week comes around.
Well, the week is tomorrow, so
Hey, look, man, I am putting my trust in him. I hope he realizes that. You know what? I hope he realizes that that the Giants play Thursday night.
All right, so excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and pick Big Trust to win, despite the fact that I think this is closer to a 50-50 matchup than what it appears to be. Next up, We Not From 750 versus King Foreigner. Aaron Rodgers better have a bounce back game. I'll tell you that much. And Robinson against Cincinnati, that should be better. Andy Dalton better figure it out, or Chicago better figure it out. Like what
they stop playing and just go ahead and start Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Cincinnati's defense wouldn't exactly be throwing him to the wolves.
Right.
I would allow it.
That against this team, no, it wouldn't.
Yeah, you know.
But maybe but they're probably looking at this team and like, well, this is a chance for Andy Dalton to get right. So
yeah, it is. It is. You got to, man. If you don't perform against Cincinnati, then we're gonna need you to just get out of here.
Exactly. You're done. You're done if you can't figure it out now. So just looking at it straight up and down, I'm picking King Fornham. You got Ryan Tannehill going up against us Seahawks defense, and their defense is nothing like what it used to be. DeAndre Hopkins going against Minnesota. We've seen what Cincinnati was able to do. Keenan Allen going against Dallas defense, enough said, and they lost to Marcus Lawrence. Derrick Henry needs a bounce back game, and it's against Seattle. And then you have Henderson going up against the Colts again, refer to what Cincinnati. No, not what Cincinnati was able to do, what the Seahawks were able to do. And yeah, so just off top, not even it's King Fornham.
Yeah, I'm to be honest with you, looking at the two teams, I don't even need to get into the matchups. There's just a few things I see over here with King Fornham. You see TJ Hawkinson, which I already said I don't think it was a fluke. You have Derrick Henry over there. You have DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen. We're talking about high floor, high ceiling, and they have the matchups aren't bad enough for me to worry about it, Mark. And then there's, who knows what Keenan Allen is going to do against Dallas. So, no, man, it's just, to me, it's a really quick look here. And, I'm just gonna take him. I feel like this should be a victory to where he should win by at least 10 points. At least 10 points, Mark. I don't think We Not From 750 has a chance.
Nah, I don't think so. Not this week. King Fornham for the win. Check it. All right, and yep, our last matchup for the week is Charles Championship team against Reese's Buttercup, who is currently in second place. So we have the first place team and a second place team going up against each other already in week 2. Both of them have a victory, so somebody's coming out with a loss in this matchup. It just, with the preliminary look, I'm going to say that person that's coming out with a loss in this matchup is Reese's Buttercup team. Although I can't necessarily point to a real weakness on her side. The only real weakness that I see on her side is possibly Kareem Hunt, just given the fact that you don't know what his totals are going to be in Robert Tonyan. But outside of that,
how much I don't like Robert Tonyan.
Outside of that, I can't really point to a weakness on her side for this week. And as far as Charles's team, only weakness that I see is Juju Smith-Schuster, and that's simply because Juju Smith-Schuster, seemingly without Antonio Brown, can't find a way to get himself open. So,
look, this is a rough one. I like the matchups that Reese's Buttercups has. They're all pretty good matchups. I look over at Charles Championship team, and there's nothing that scares me over there except for really, to be honest, Juju Smith-Schuster and Jacoby Myers against the Jets. Like I said, I've been saying the Jets defense is going to be good. I believe that they are. We'll see about that. It is the Patriots playing a divisional game. So who the hell knows? But this is Mac Jones. This ain't Cam Newton, and this ain't Tom Brady. So we'll see what happens and see what kind of pressure they try to put on the young quarterback there. But looking at this, I don't know. I'll say this, Mark. At this point in the season, I am not going to bet on Adam Thielen having back-to-back 30-point games. I'm not quite sure about the chemistry between Heineke and McLaurin. I'm not as sure about the deep ball with him as I was with Fitzpatrick or anybody else. And I'm not willing to bet against a team that has Dak Prescott and Darren Waller on it. And that's really what it comes down to here. And Dalvin Cook against Arizona should eat. So I'm leaning just slightly towards Charles championship team, and that's what I'm going to pick with this one. And I do believe that this will be the highest scoring game in the league between two teams. So somebody's going to outscore half the league and still lose. So
you feel as though this will be game of the week?
This is the game that I'm trying to pay attention to, Mark.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would have to agree. I would have to agree. Just looking at it, she might want to find a place for Cole Beasley to start on this roster this week. Maybe, I don't know, but it's all up in the air, man. I really can't find a true problem with anything that she has going over here. Maybe take a shot at Austin Hooper, but it is. With that being said, it's not a whole lot left to get into. That's the end of the matchup portion of the league. Now let's look at the transactions over the week, or the waiver wire transactions over the week. Now for the new ads that happened this week. There was only a few real notable ads this week, and that was Eli Mitchell was added by Lobotos Prime, and seeing how he had the number one waiver priority, that makes sense because he was the number one standout player of the week. And Lobotos Prime was the one that had hit Raheem Mostert go down, so of course he would make that ad. Now, another notable ad that I would like to point out is the fact that Cleveland defense was available this week because Big Trust, in a panic, apparently dropped him. Like, I guess, I don't know what made him do it or why he did it, but he dropped them. They went to waivers, and Raw Dog Supreme picked him up off of waivers. Me personally, I wouldn't have used a waiver position on a defense, but
the dropping, remember, Mark, he dropped him right before the game and picked up the Giants defense, only for the Giants defense to get their skulls bashed in on Sunday. So yeah. Like, I don't. But I mean, I get it. You get scared of the Cleveland versus Kansas City matchup. If your defense is going against Kansas City, I understand the fear there. So,
right. And is there any other matchups that you, any other pickups from this week that stand out to you?
I'm going to say, I'm looking at here. You said I see Mitchell. James White. James White is a good pickup. He seems to be back to his regular self. He's out there getting 8 catches a game again. So for him to pick up, to me, what I believe to be the two best running back pickups on the waiver wire, and he got both of them in 1 week. That's a win right there in my book. But we'll see how that turns out. But I mean, if anything, he snatched up some guys that other people won't be able to use.
Yeah. pretty much. But yeah, listen. So just running down from last week, our picks from last week. I am 4-2, and you are currently 3-3.
Yes, sir. I wrote it down too. We're gonna see how the end of the season turns out. Right now, I'll be honest with you, man. This feels like I'm betting on NFL games, man. I'd be like, for sure, these teams are going to win, and then some crazy shit happens. And this is why we love the NFL. It's unpredictable. It's parity. So anything can happen any given Sunday.
Absolutely, you are correct. All right, well, that's all we have for this episode, people. Thank you for joining us and watching us. We look forward to seeing you next week. We'll be recap what happened in week 2, and we will get into a bit of the trash talking that's been going on in the league. It's been heating up between these teams. Barcus Prime and King Fordham they took their matchup further into the messenger board, and we'll get into that later. All right, and it seems like for the time being, Tobias has sucked off into the corner.
Hey man, I put that boy in hiding, man. He took his tail and dipped off. Mark, you seen that?
Hey man,
see how quiet it's been in the chat lately? Been peaceful and shit. Look,
I don't. He
was begging. He was begging for Mark Andrews to save him. He was begging for it. Pathetic, Mark. Pathetic.
I don't got all that to say, but okay. All right. At the end of the day, I've always seen worse, and it's just how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you for joining us. FLCN out. Peace.